Welcome to Delhi Township Board of Trustee meeting of May 10th, 2017. We will open the meeting with a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's moment of silence is in recognition of International Firefighters Day, which was observed on May 4th. On that day, we remember the past firefighters who have died while serving our community or having dedicated their lives to protecting the safety of us all. Our moment of silence is in appreciation of all firefighters, past and present, but especially our own, who continue to protect us so well throughout the year. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, approval of the minutes. Mr. Luby.
Motion 2017-113, approve the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting held on April 26, 2017, and dispense with the reading.
I move motion 2017-113.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion 2017-114, approve bills for payment.
I move motion 2017-114.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion approved.
Motion 2017-115, approve the payment of overtime for pay period ending April 25th, 2017.
I move motion 2017-115.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion approved.
Resolution 2017-107, resolution approving purchase order obligations incurred on behalf of the Township by the Township Administrator, authorizing payment of certain purchase order obligations and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Chief Campbell? Looks like you're geared up. Yes, no?
Yeah, we both have a few words to offer. These changes, these appropriation or amendments. One is with the road project, we have the county's money we have to account for. So we have, I think, 2 streets that we're doing that the county's piggybacking on ours, so that money has to be accepted in as revenue and then moved to the appropriate line item. And our bids were a little bit higher than we had put in the budget, so there's just a few dollars moving with that. The other changes are related to the new firehouse, so I thought Chief Campbell could offer some brief explanation on that.
So with the reappropriation for the firehouse, I just wanted to be clear first and foremost, the GMP that we settled on with Turner is what we're paying. So this isn't, the additional funds wouldn't be to cover anything that we paid Turner. It specifically deals with vendors that Delhi Township directly dealt with for that project. So there was things when we set out and set the budget in 2015, we couldn't see, certain trees had to be removed to prep the site. We had some issues with hookups, and then we also had some scope work that needed to be covered in that contract where Turner, basically, their scope of work was up to here, the vendor did up to here, and the township was left closing that gap. So that's basically where we were looking at that difference. But the GMP is exactly what we're paying for it.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2017-108, resolution budgeting revenues, amending appropriations for expenses, and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading? Yes.
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 Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
The only significant transaction in the last 2 weeks was payroll. We had $250,000 payroll for the May 4th, 2017. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to trustee correspondence. Trustee Seavey?
Just a couple notes. There's been some residents that would like everyone to remember to closely tightly close your garbage lids. With all this high wind, they're blowing open, and we're having a lot of paper trash blow up and down the street. So if everyone could please remember to tightly close your garbage lids. And also, we hear your stormwater complaints. There's quite a few, and Ron is working down the list as quickly as he can. So, we've got your name and number, hopefully. You've probably called. And just a reminder. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Oswald.
Just want to remind everyone about the activity in the parks this summer. We plan to do a lot, and there's going to be a lot of activity. So just know there's going to be 3 concerts. The first one starting June 15th. There will be 2 movies. The first one starting June 24th. The farmers market will start June 10th and go all the way through October 28th. And also Delhi Business Association is doing their movie night on October 21st. So I'd say this because last year we'd have a concert and I'd had residents come up to me and say, well, we never knew about it. We would have been there. So it's on Facebook. Like it, share it, tell your friends, and hopefully we'll see you out there.
All right, thank you. And I'd like to thank everybody who came out for cleanup day and for all of our employees who worked so hard on Saturday. We had record amounts of paper shred. It was 11,050 pounds of paper were shred. And I know we ran out of bin space to be able to bring up some of your other trash or whatever you want to get rid of. So we are contemplating and looking into having a second cleanup day this year. So stay tuned for more information about that. But thank you for everybody who participated. All right, resolution, Mr. Luby.
Resolution 2017-109, resolution declaring certain property no longer needed for public use, obsolete and unfit for the use acquired, authorizing sale by internet auction, and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2017-110, resolution entering into contract with Bethesda Healthcare, Inc. for corporate health services, authorizing the Township Administrator to execute necessary documents, and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Administrator Cameron?
This is no change to what we're currently doing. It is our employee assistance program, something that's been offered, and TriHealth or Bethesda has bought our current provider, so we need to put an agreement in place that's specific to Bethesda.
Okay, thank you.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2017-111, resolution appointing the Township Administrator to serve as the Plan Administrator and to execute the agreement on behalf of Delhi Township in connection with a certain Plan Administrator employer-payer agreement with Quality Care Partners, and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Administrator Cameron?
This is another item that's housekeeping. It doesn't change what we're currently doing. It is in regard to our self-insurance. It is the agreement with the Ohio PPO Connect Network, QCP. I guess when it was done, there was a few questions about the agreement that Mr. Lane had, and so those have been worked out. When we got the document back, we realized it was specific to Pete Landrum and Lisa Dorger. So what this is doing is allowing the Township Administrator to be the Plan Administrator, so whomever's in this seat can then be put in, and the agreement's not having to be changed. So this is not changing anything, but it's making sure we're in compliance and have
Ongoing.
the proper names or lack of names on the document.
Okay.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2017-112, resolution authorizing an agreement with Forgotten Paws Animal Rescue at Delhi Park on Sunday, October 1st, 2017, authorizing the park director to execute the agreement and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution? Mr. Torbeck.
Thank you, trustees. This would be the second year for Forgotten Paws. The only real changes we've made is last year we were at Floral Paradise, and this year we moved to inside Delhi Park for a good reason. We had so many people show up, we didn't have enough parking over at Floral Paradise. So just to alleviate that issue, we moved over to Delhi, and that's about it. Everything else is the same.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Motion 2017-116, accepting the resignation of seasonal gardener Emily Marshall, effective April 25th, 2017.
I move motion 2017-116.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. I want to stop a second here, I'm sorry. When we were back under administration, we were going to speak a little bit, Administrator Cameron, about UAN. Did you want to address that at this time?
I can if you want, or just do it at the end, either way. I guess you teed me up, so I'll go into it.
There you go.
I had something come up here more recently, and so it wasn't reflected on your agenda. And we've talked about our accounting system that we use. We've been on a particular system for a long time, and the state auditor has a system that they use that I know Lindsay, who's the new assistant fiscal officer, and myself had used previously. And so as we considered our current system versus what we were doing in that, it just got our interest peaked in, okay, should we maybe consider moving to the UAN, the Uniform Accounting Network that the state auditor has. Looking into it, it's significantly cheaper. It's probably at least half the price of what we're currently paying. So from a cost standpoint, it's certainly not anymore. From a functionality standpoint, it seems that it's got more functionality for what we're used to doing. The reason I bring it up is because there is an agreement they need the fiscal officer to execute to get in line to contemplate making the switch. So they get everybody lined up that has serious interest by this agreement. They set up a date to do training and call you up and say, are you truly interested in making this switch? So the reason I bring it up is if we want to do that sooner than later, since we have 3 weeks before the next meeting, I think their training is set for the end of June. We would need to do something maybe at this meeting, if not, definitely the next one. But I do, and Mr. Lane and I have looked at the agreement. He's got some concern with an indemnity clause, which we can kind of work through. But if you're interested in having us consider this and move forward, I do have a resolution you could add to allow Jim to sign this if everything's okay, from a legal standpoint too.
Any discussion?
Jim?
Based upon the complaints that I've heard with the system, I don't have a problem with switching to UAN. In the past, obviously with Beth, she was familiar with that program. She was the primary user of the program, and we got the reports that we needed. But now with some new personnel, I would agree with the recommendation to go ahead and make the switch.
We actually looked at UAN about 6 years ago and were put on that list. And it was a pretty long list at the time to even get in, and so we kind of let it go. But what's significant, particularly to Jim's office, is that it ties into the state reports that we're obligated and required to turn in, that it kind of automatically puts the report together. When we go to the Ohio Township meetings, there's a lot of discussion about UAN. So we're probably a little bit slow in making the move, but maybe now they've stepped up the availability of it. I don't know. You have to find out.
Jim, do you know why we went with bucks in the first place, or who put that in place?
It's 100 years ago.
It was 1992.
92?
92.
Okay.
And it's not been updated since,
Right.
from what I understand. So we're dealing with 35 or 25-year-old technology.
Yeah, I don't want to suggest that others do use it. There aren't a lot of entities using it, at least. There are some. And this would allow us to at least have UAN as a serious option if everything looks okay. I still would want to make sure, the converting and the migrating of our information can happen without tons of issues. Obviously, there's some work involved in that, but without doing this, we can't seriously look at it and decide if it's something we do want to switch to.
And all we're doing is authorizing Jim to sign the contract with the resolution, correct?
Yeah, there's an agreement, and if we choose not to do it, then
We're out.
we can choose not to do it. But they won't put you in the line.
I would propose we do it tonight then.
But we're not obligated to stick with them when the time comes for us to come around.
And Mr. Lane, you're okay with this?
So,
I have not seen the entire, I've seen the entire agreement. Jack sent it to me. I only flipped through it, and there's a particular provision, some indemnification language that everybody likes to put in every contract. This contract happens to have that language in there. And as your board will recall from other ones, I never approved indemnification provisions. What's incredibly curious about this, it's in an agreement that we're having or entering into with a state auditor, who typically would be the one that would write you guys up for entering into a contract that has an unfunded indemnification in it. So I'm not sure what to do except maybe scratch my head. It's pretty bizarre. I'm kind of surprised that it's even in there, but.
Is there someone at Yost's office that we could call and say, this is odd to us?
That's what I was going to suggest. Maybe Jack could talk to somebody up there to see, how do we have this, how do you reconcile that?
Right.
But other than that, I'm sure the software's fine, and I'm sure the agreement's fine, but it just has this curious indemnification provision in it with a even more curious last paragraph to it. So Jack and I talked a little about that. It's like, I don't know, it's like they're winking or something. I don't know what they're doing. It's curious.
so do we have to make a motion that I know is not on here? Or,
I think you would motion to amend your agenda to add the resolution if you would like to pass it to authorize Jim to sign.
Well, if we don't do it now and you miss the June date, I don't think there's another date until like fall. Is there?
right.
I'd prefer to have all options open since this is kind of coming up pretty quickly. So yeah, if it's doesn't obligate us, the agreement doesn't include a whole lot of crazy language. The indemnification's kind of odd because the state auditor would say they don't like indemnification clauses. But other than that, it just talks about the provisions of what you do. And I guess it would stand that if Dave does, as the law director, have issues with it after the fact of passing the resolution, that we can get them changed, or we just don't sign it, can't sign it.
So,
So do we pass the resolution not knowing if Dave's in clearing this, or how do you want to do this? Or pass it proposing that
Right.
if he does say, okay, go ahead, and if he doesn't,
Well, if we pass it, it just gives the authority for Jim to sign. If
sign.
he comes back and says no, then Jim just doesn't have to sign.
Jim doesn't have, okay, that works.
okay. So if we have to assign it a motion number, it'd have to be, do we do it at the end after 117 since we'd be out of order? Or is there a resolution member?
He's got
I
it.
numbered it 119 just
So we'll wait
to
for
put
it.
it at the end.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
I
thank
I
you.
missed that note, sorry. Did I cut you short, Josh? I'm sorry.
There's just one more thing in parks. I don't even need to be here. I just wanted to make sure if you had any questions, I was.
I'm sorry.
No, I enjoyed all of it.
Okay, we'll do it real quick. You can see I'm on my game tonight. Okay, Mr. Luby.
Sorry, I do have, I'm not sure how it didn't, we're looking to hire.
Yes,
That's the one we missed.
yes. That's why.
I interrupted before we did the,
Wait a minute, we just.
But
did
it's
the
not on ours.
resignation.
we did resignation, we don't have the hiring one on here.
Oh,
You,
That's why, see, that's why, I'm not off my game. Somebody else is. So.
it's me.
So can we make up the words for that?
Sorry,
No.
if you look under parks, there's a motion for replacing the person that resigned.
It's
But it
not
didn't
on-
make your,
It's
So
on
is
the
it
one up
Copy.
there.
117?
yeah, it's on everybody else's.
On everybody else's. Can we have a copy of what everybody else is sitting there
Jim's-
with?
What's the number on it?
Sorry, it won't have a number because it's not reflected on your copy.
It would have to end up being 118 unless we switch the waiving to 118 if we want to do them in order.
It'll be,
Want to make it 117, then make the,
it'll be motion 117.
right, and then motion 118 will be the waiver of the, okay, so it'll be 117, hiring of.
Motion 2017-117. Motion to approve Sarah Ackerman as seasonal gardener at a pay rate of $12 per hour, effective May 15th, 2017.
I move motion 2017-117.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. All right, thank you. All right, community development, Mr. Luby.
Resolution 2017-113, resolution declaring nuisance for excessive vegetation at 5144 Rapid Run Road and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
Second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. DeLong?
Yeah, what you have in front of you is we have a nuisance at 5144 Rapid Run. It's really excessive vegetation. We did do a site visit this morning. It's still in the same conditions, so we request that you declare the property a nuisance.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Greg, you have something to say,
Yeah,
Mr.
I was
Dahl?
just going to actually remind the community of a few things. Actually, Cheryl brought up one earlier with trash, but we're also running into the same problem with recycling. So if you have papers in your recycling bins, please weight them down. They are blowing around the community. We are running into summertime, so garage sales, church festivals, everything is kicking into high gear. Please contact the Department of Community Development before you put signs out. We are enforcing signs in the right-of-way again this year, so we will be pulling them. We are averaging about 25 to 50 a week. We are currently pulling. Last year, between the months of July and December, we pulled well over 1,000. So we're starting earlier this year, so we'll definitely beat that number. Another thing is boats and campers. It's that time of the year. If you bring them home, please contact us so we know you're properly storing them. And another thing is just a reminder of high weeds and grass. Our regulations do state 12 inches, so if you do see any, please contact the Department of Community Development or use the action line on our website to report these violations. So that's really just a little community push for us to help us out. So,
We know it's a hard job, but thanks for keeping
oh,
us,
no
keeping
problem.
us clean and green.
We're trying. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr.
Yeah.
Luby.
No, can I ask Mr. DeLong a question? Could you just review the definition of what it means to have a sign in the right-of-way? Because some people are like, well, is it this little piece of green strip or is it this bigger piece of green strip?
There's a couple variables that go into place. If there's a sidewalk, the area between the sidewalk and the street, keep it out of there. If there is no sidewalk, we always just say a good rule of thumb is look for utility poles going down the street. Keep it out of the area between the utility pole and the street.
Street.
And also keep them off of the utility and street signs. That is they're in the right of way. So that's kind of our rule of thumb that we're doing. So if things are kind of close, we may shift them back a little bit, but we typically do pull them. Most signs are getting discarded now within 5 days of being pulled.
And in memory of Trustee LaScalia, Do not staple them to the poles.
Yes, that is a big problem, so.
All right. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay. All right. Mr. Luby.
Resolution 2017-114, resolution awarding contract to Barrett Paving Materials, Inc. in the amount of $1,163,978.38 in connection with the Delhi Township Street Rehabilitation and Repair Project 2017A, rejecting bids, establishing Huntington Bank as escrow agent, and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. Ripperger?
Yes, I'll just go over a few highlights. We did have three contractors put in bids, with Barrett Paving obviously being the lowest bid. All good contractors, and they've all done work for us before in the past. The downfall is it definitely did come in a little higher than what we estimated, which normally doesn't happen. We believe some of the reason is our concrete quantities are a little lower this year just because of the area we're working in, not because of the amount of work. $160,000 is paid from Hamilton County for the two streets that we're doing with them. So the downfall on that is the assessments for sidewalks and a handful of aprons are a little higher than the original letter we sent out. So we have another letter drafted, and we'll send it out and try to work with the residents on that. Luckily, it is a small year for sidewalks compared to years past. Let's see. The completion date of the project is early September. Do you have any questions?
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2017-115, resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to execute and deliver to Highland Administrative Service a power of attorney, odometer disclosure statement, and original lien-free title in order to process the total loss claim on the 2013 Ford Taurus police vehicle and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Chief Howarth?
Thank you, trustees. This was the vehicle I mentioned at the last meeting that was involved in the accident. We were going to sell the vehicle to Hardin County. We were having it repaired through insurance. Upon tearing the vehicle apart, insurance company determined it cost too much. They found internal damage to the transmission and so forth. So they totaled the vehicle. These forms give the administrator the right to sign off on it and give the title over to the insurance company so we can get payment.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2017-116, resolution authorizing the administrator to execute a field trial agreement with Taser International, Inc. for a 30-day field trial of body cameras by the police department and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Chief Howarth?
Yes, ma'am. This is also, like it mentioned, a trial agreement for 2 body cams and all the associated software and hardware that goes with it for 30 days, that 2 of our officers can try it for those 30 days. At that time, the equipment will have to be returned to them. I do have a quote that's good standing to the end of September as far as what it would cost if we decide to go with their product. So we got time to determine that and look at other options also. But this will give us 30 days to look at Axon.
Okay.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2017-117, resolution awarding contract to Vogable Fire Equipment, Inc. for the provision of self-contained breathing apparatus, rapid intervention team packs, and optional equipment per the bid specifications, and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Chief Campbell?
Thank you, trustees. You recall last meeting, we opened up the bids. This is moving forward with that contract, so hope to have this purchase wrapped up this week, and we're looking at a delivery of 60 to 90 days. So it's well within where we want to be, and timing couldn't be any better, so this works out for us.
Okay.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Resolution 2017-118, resolution declaring the 2009 Carnes Model 1010 firefighter helmet and uniform badge no longer needed for public use, have no value, authorizing disposal thereof by delivery to retired firefighter paramedic David Stigler, and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Chief Campbell?
No, this simply allows us to transfer these items to Dave upon his retirement, so hopefully he doesn't see this before his retirement party. Shh.
I move to
Mum's the word.
dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
And motion 2017-117 to waive permit fees for the community center on May.
We use that number.
That'll be 118 now, since we had the one to hire. Sorry.
Motion 2017-118 to waive permit fees for the community center on May 21st, 2017 for firefighter paramedic David Stigler's retirement party.
I move motion 2017-118.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 Motion passes. Okay, it's time for citizens' comments, and we have one today. We have Clyde Kober at 295 Glen Oaks to talk about the skirt game, our annual event. Welcome.
Thank you. As all of you probably know, since I think I know everybody in the room, Marty Smith and I have been co-chair or president of the skirt game for the last 10 years. We looked around and found that most of the people running the skirt game, which is now like 10 or 11 people, are reaching the age of 60 or more. So we thought it was time for a transition. So in our 40th year, I want to announce a new president for the Delhi Skirt Game, and that is Sherry DeMoss.
Welcome, Sherry.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say a few words. Like, I've met most of you, but I wanted to thank you for your support for the skirt game, and we hope we're doing it for another 40 years. Just encourage everyone to come out to the skirt game. It is really about giving back to the community, and we're going to be obviously volunteering with the parks to help them out with some of the events going on this year. So we just really want to encourage everyone to get behind the skirt game. If you would like to volunteer to be at the skirt game or to help with be a volunteer, you can always reach out through our website and email one of us, and we will get back with you. But again, we want to thank everyone for their support.
Right.
Good luck.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Those are two hard acts to follow there with the Cobras.
I would like to say, since I've got the mic,
5 minutes.
It'll be much shorter than that. We have come a long way with the skirt game in the last 10 years. I mean, 10 years ago, we had no tailgate party. We had no kids, cops, and firefighters. And the skirt game was run by two guys with a committee, but the two guys made all the decisions. We've totally changed that. So that as leaving as president, I wasn't making every decision. The decisions were being truly made by the committee, and there were people on the committee who were responsible to run 9 or 10 different aspects of the game. So things have changed a lot, and we're really hoping that the skirt game has another good 40 years coming. And I think this is the way to get it done, rather than see it die like some other organizations have died in the community. So thanks for your time.
Well, thank you for everything you've done.
Thanks, Clyde.
And wait a minute, do we need another second or two? Sure, come on. It's been one of those nights.
Is that a new 5 minutes?
The team is encouraging me to remind everybody about the golf outing that is this Saturday at Aston Oaks. We still have foursomes available. So if anybody wants to play, give us a call at 451-1197. My wife will be happy to sign you up.
All right, thank you. Behind every good
Cindy.
man, there's a woman, right? All right, thank you. All right, announcement of community events, Mr. Luby.
We're going to go ahead and add the resolution that we added.
Resolution now? All right.
Resolution 2017-119, resolution authorizing the fiscal officer to execute an agreement with the auditor of state for their uniform accounting network and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Okay, now on to announcements.
The fishing program at Clearview Lake will be Fridays from May 5th through September 29th. Time will be from 7 a.m. till dusk. It'll be at the Delhi Park at 5125 Foley Road. The Kenny Lips annual Delhi Kids, Cops, and Firefighters Golf Outing, hosted by the Delhi Skirt Game Committee, will be Saturday, May 13th. Registration starts at 1 p.m. There'll be a shotgun start at 2 p.m. The event will be at the Aston Oaks Golf Course at 1 Aston Oaks Drive in North Bend, Ohio, 45052. The Western Hills Retirement Village Mayfest will be Sunday, May 21st. It will be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It will be at the Western Hills Retirement Village at 6210 Cleves Warsaw Pike. The St. John's Dog Days of Summer Pet Carnival and Animal Blessing will be Saturday, May 27th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will be at St. John's Westminster Union Church at 1085 Neeb Road. The Delhi Township Veterans Association Memorial Day Ceremony will be Sunday, May 28th. It will be at 1 p.m. It will be at the Delhi Township Veterans Memorial Park at 934 Neeb Road. The Delhi Citizens Police Association Golf Outing will be Friday, June 9th. Lunch will be served at 11:30. Tee-off will be at 1 p.m. The outing is at Aston Oaks Golf Course at 1 Aston Oaks Drive, North Bend, Ohio, 45052. The Riverview Delhi Kiwanis Rolling on the River Car Show will be Sunday, July 23rd. It will start at 8 a.m., rain or shine. It's open to the public, and it will be at Fernbank Park.
All right, thank you. We do have a need for executive session tonight, so if we can have the motion, Mr. Luby?
Motion 2017-119 to retire into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, and/or compensation of a public employee of the township.
I move motion 2017-119 to consider the appointment, employment, and/or compensation of a public employee of the township.
I second the motion to consider the appointment, employment, and/or compensation of public employee of the township.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Oswald?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you for coming tonight. Our next meeting is on Wednesday, May 31st. Everybody have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Did you have an announcement for Veterans Day?
Yeah, it's on there.
Yeah.
Number 5.